Good evening to all our guests. My name is Raki, and it is my pleasure to host you on this webinar where we are going to speak of pursuing a master's degree from New York with a 40% scholarship and GRE waiver. I'm sure everyone who has joined us today and everyone who's joining in is very keen on pursuing a US education, which is known for their excellent pedagogy, for being highly academic incentive, and also competitive, and also for having one of the best ROIs globally. Not only that, but when we speak of pursuing a STEM career, there is no better place than the US, which boasts of some of the best known technology schools and also companies in the world. And today we are here to introduce a very special school, which is Rochester Institute of Technology from New York, ranked in the top 100 technology schools, one of the most premium engineering schools in the US, with a history of having the best co-op program, one of the best co-op programs in the US. Joining us today from RIT, we have our esteemed guests. So thank you so much for everyone who's joined us here today. We have Mr. Paul Keller, who is the Interim Director of International Enrollment and International Recruitment. We have Lindsay Lewis, who is the Senior Director, Office of Graduate and Part-Time Enrollment Services. And we have Professor Edward Hensel, who is the Associate Dean for Research and Graduate Studies. Without any further ado, I'm sure all our guests, all our students are very excited to know more about the two incredibly great programs from RIT that we have with upGrad. So I will hand it over to Paul. And Paul, I would like to set the context and start by asking my very first question. How would you describe RIT to our learners?
Sure. Thanks, Raki. It's a pleasure to be here. And we're going to go through a lot of this in the slides, but as a starting point, I would talk to a few things that speak to the RIT experience and I think are very relevant for our computer engineering program and our industrial systems engineering program. First is that they're very career relevant. We're coming up on our 200th birthday, if you can believe it, here at RIT. And from the very beginning, our mission has been to provide an education that really kind of broadens horizons in terms of your thinking, but also prepares you for the workforce. And we're really moving the world of industry forward. And we do that in a variety of ways. As Raki mentioned, we have a co-op program. We really have impressive facilities. We have great industry connections. A second thing that I would speak to is for the people on this call, is our long legacy with the Indian subcontinent. We've had a significant number of students from India since the 70s. It's really Indian culture is in our DNA. And we have close to 30,000 Indian alumni, and we're over there all the time. As a matter of fact, today I need to book tickets to be over in India at the end of March and beginning of April. So that's a huge draw for us. Another thing that I would say is, though we can make no guarantees, and we'll get to this at various points on the call, our success rate with getting students OPT placements after they graduate is, we're amongst the top in the US on a per capita basis. We have a real strong history of getting students here, providing a transformative education, which has a lot of industry tie-in and industry experience. And then once they're done, the possibility to stay and work in the US for a number of years after they're done. So I could spend an hour talking about all the things that I love about RIT and the ways we add value to our students. But those would be just a few that I would go with. So with that said, we've put some slides together here.
Sure.
And to start with, I'd love to introduce my two colleagues.
Yeah.
First, one of the people that I get to spend parts of my day with all of the time, one of the hardest workers I know, one of the most organized people I know, is Lindsay Lewis. And she's the admissions counselor who you'll be working with through the process. And she'll be she'll be in the webinar answering questions as they go along. And as we get to the Q&A, if you have a lot of questions, she can help answer them about the application process, about anything that you have under the sun. And you'll also get emails from her once you kind of get into our system. And she's very responsive, very friendly, and there's no such thing as a bad question. So thank you, Lindsay, for being here today. And I'm also pleased that we're joined by Dr. Ed Hensel. Ed has a lot of experience in the world of engineering. Has been a professor himself. And so he's going to be doing the majority of the slides in this presentation as it relates to Kate Gleason College of Engineering, and specifically our computer engineering and our industrial engineering programs. So I'm going to talk for a few slides, and then I'm going to pass it over to Ed.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So next slide here. So a little bit of an overview. As I said earlier, we're coming up on our 200th birthday here pretty soon, and we have over 200 programs, over 100 graduate programs in 9 colleges. Today we're talking about 2 very specific programs, but we are a large comprehensive university. We have over 18,000 students total, and we are the 3rd largest private university in the United States. Now, with that said, we're a large university, but we try to make it small. We really do our best to keep our student-teacher faculty ratio at a low amount. And what I find is that our students know our faculty and our faculty know our students. Also in here, you can see that we are we've got many STEM graduates. STEM is in our DNA. Engineering is in our DNA. And it's a huge part of what we do. So we've put together some other statistics here, and you'll see the Gleason building here in a picture. We have a wonderful virtual tour online. We may just throw that in the chat at some point, but very modern facility. So that's a quick overview of RIT. Next slide. And here's here is a kind of a broad look at Kate Gleason College of Engineering, or as you say here, as we call it here, KGCOE. And a few of these things I've already touched on at the beginning, but we're really known for our co-op program. And we've been doing co-op for over 100 years. I'm assuming most of the people on this call are familiar with what co-op is. But for, as kind of a quick refresher, it is getting experience in the workplace. And it's something that you do full-time for the most part. So most students, when I say co-op, if I'm on the road, they'll plug it into their phone and they'll say, oh, so it's like an internship. And it is in a lot of ways, but it's very different. A couple of things that were different from co-op than when I did internships in college were, one is co-ops are full-time, and second, you're getting paid while you do it. Okay. And so those are 2 very kind of different distinctions that I do think are important. As you can see here, we're a highly ranked university. If you look at these programs, we're ranked 76th in grad engineering. We're a top 100 university as it is related to U.S. News and World Reports. So really a top school. You'll see some other statistics here, and in terms of kind of what makes us great and the makeup of our students. But at the bottom, what I'd love to also highlight is just the quality of the faculty. And unfortunately, my day is too busy to get to spend as much time as I'd like actually in the classroom seeing classes. But the few times I do take the time to do that, I find I'm continually impressed with what's happening in the classroom. And the other thing is we survey our students, and we're continually getting good feedback from our graduates that they were very well prepared once they left Kate Gleason College of Engineering. Next slide. And so here is our full, kind of our full menu of engineering programs. And you'll see, so you see a wide variety. A lot of students will like to see that we do have PhD programs in these two things that we're looking at. And I realize everybody on this call, you know, kind of the scope of what you're looking for is a master's degree. However, I think a lot of students find that it's beneficial to be in a program that has, you know, has those PhD students in there doing research, kind of being on the cutting edge, asking the leading questions, and how some of that trickles down throughout the college. So, you know, as you can see, we have a very diverse menu of engineering programs. And like I said, today, Ed is going to talk through computer engineering and industrial and systems engineering. And next slide. So really quickly, you know, I've talked a little bit about co-op. And so here are the details. And what's amazing about this is, and it's not like this for every program, for these programs and in the way that it's organized, the CPT, the curricular practical training that you do while you're here, that the co-op time that I was mentioning, it doesn't impact your OPT after your degree. So this really gives you a chance to maximize your time in the United States. It also gives you the chance to potentially you know, work with two separate companies. And we have some students who do their co-op. They make a good connection. They work hard and they impress the people they work with. And then they do OPT with that company. But others like to have kind of those two separate experiences, you know, work with two different companies, perhaps work in two different parts of the United States. Maybe, you know, do your co-op at kind of a small startup company and do your OPT when you're done at kind of a large multinational company. There is no, you know, there's no kind of perfect way to do it. But what I find is that students are given a lot of different kind of different ways to do it that they can choose. Once again, we can't guarantee the OPT placements, but I do have, you know, the aggregate data shows us that we're very, very successful in getting our students OPT placements. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Ed. Does he have the correct deck that he's ready to share, Lindsay?
Yep, we sure do. Ed,
Okay.
whenever you're ready.
Excellent,
Yeah,
Ed.
so I think we'll just continue with the same slide deck. If we go to the next slide, please. So following up on the introduction that Paul gave, this is just a small sampling of the corporate partners who have visited our campus at RIT and recruited our graduate students into a wide variety of companies. You recognize globally familiar names in this list of companies, as well as a number of regional and local companies. We have 2 career fairs on campus, one in the fall and one in the spring. So our students will start in the fall semester, typically with our orientation right at the end of August each year. We go right into classes at the beginning of September, and our first career fair with over 250 companies coming to our on-campus field house happens in October. So students get their first exposure to recruitment opportunity in less than 2 months after arriving on our campus. That's a great opportunity for graduate students to meet and get to know these companies. Some of our graduate students actually get tentative CPT, curricular practical training placements as a result of their fall career fair, looking forward to the next summer. That career fair, we have a second version of our career fair in March in the spring semester of each year. And that's where the majority of graduate students land their first CPT assignment. Students do need to complete 1 full academic year on campus in order to be eligible for curricular practical training under U.S. immigration law. And so we've designed this program for you specifically to give you easy access for recruitment and interview and getting a career started with these companies or up to 250 other companies that we recruit with regularly. If we could go to the next slide, please. So I wanted to show 3 different options for the manner in which students might proceed through each of our master's programs. I'm just going to show one example. This is one example for an industrial and systems engineering master student. In option 1, the first column, we show how students might come in starting in the fall semester and be eager to get in and out, finish their degree, and move on to their technical professional career. So in this first option, students would enroll in 3 academic courses during their fall semester. ISE 601 is our systems optimization and modeling course. Then we have contemporary production systems and an IE graduate elective that we would pick individually by consultation with you based on each student's individual career orientation and goals. We have a menu of elective courses. And then students attend the weekly graduate seminar. So you hear from peer students, you attend seminars from faculty members and guests visiting from industry. So you're really learning the state of the art of what's happening in US industry today and what the new and latest, greatest technologies are. For students on a fast track to get their degree done, not pursuing CPT during their program of study, those students would then continue on and take 4 academic courses in the spring semester, including engineering of systems, design of experiment, an engineering capstone course where you work on a project with other graduate students on an industry-sponsored relevant project, another graduate elective, and then continue on with graduate seminar, 9 months, and you're done with your degree, and you begin your optional practical training following the conclusion of your degree at summer 1. 9 months after you arrive in the USA, you're into your career. Our second option is where students are saying that, gee, I would like to integrate curricular practical training and co-op within my academic program. So in option 2, the first 2 semesters look similar. We have 3 courses in the fall, again, systems modeling, contemporary production systems, and a graduate elective. And then in the spring, rather than taking 4 courses, we keep that down to 3, DOE, engineering capstone, and engineering of systems. And then we reserve your last elective to take some time during the next calendar year. So in this case, students would begin their curricular practical training in summer following 9 months on academic campus. And then you have immigration eligibility to complete up to 365 days of curricular practical training or a co-op working in industry full-time and paid while you're still completing your RIT academic degree. We then would have you complete your last academic course, Lean Six Sigma Production Systems, as an online course while you're working in industry, whether you happen to be located in Rochester, New York, or anywhere else in the United States, wherever your career may take you. And then we grant your degree at the conclusion of your CPT period so that you then seamlessly move from your academic career training during CPT and transition directly into your optional practical training, OPT, that many other universities also offer following conclusion of your degree. So that during the degree is really a unique aspect of the RIT graduate program. And in the third option, we're just showing that you can stretch out that curricular practical training up to 365 days, or you may decide that, gee, I've gotten to the end of August. I really enjoy the company that I'm working with. They've offered me a full-time position and through OPT, a path into green card and immigration status. So I want to accept the job with them. We can transition you from that academic standing into a graduate standing seamlessly as it meets your personal needs and goals and as your aspirations evolve during that next year. We could continue on to the next slide, please. Just to give you a context for some of the environment and the topic areas that are really popular in our industrial and systems engineering program today. I've listed a few bullets of some of our most active research programs with the variety of faculty. These are various slides of photographs of facilities that you will be using during your academic program of study. Let's go back one slide, please. Yeah, so yeah, that's fine. So we have you'll see that we have state-of-the-art advanced manufacturing systems. We work carefully with Rochester Regional Health if you're interested in healthcare optimization and learning how to improve the delivery of healthcare and take advantage of operations research. We have the Toyota Production Systems Laboratory, where we're learning the latest in advanced modern manufacturing techniques. And then we also have our Amprint, our additive 3D manufacturing, where we have the state-of-the-art in additive and combined additive and subtractive manufacturing technology. We are actually assisting 3D printing manufacturing companies with their technology development. So we have many 3D printing systems in our labs that are not even available in the marketplace yet. So we're right at the bleeding edge of high technology in the industrial and systems engineering marketplace. Let's jump ahead 2 slides to the computer engineering research. Please go ahead, one more, please. So in computer engineering, we have also similarly a wide variety of research topics available to you. We're doing quite a bit in everything related from cybersecurity, AI aware, we're doing deep learning, computer architecture. We're operating at the system integration between hardware and software. We have all aspects of computer engineering. We're even integrating wireless computing and interconnect right on top of computer chips so that when we go into like a large data center, we don't have to even do wired communication connections in between all of the servers in a data center. It's all wireless right inside the computer data center. That simplifies the processing of data and the wiring and maintenance of maintaining data systems. You see a wide variety of our computing labs. We have everything from personal workstations that you'll be working with to state-of-the-art high-performance massively parallel computing clusters. So depending on what the nature of your research and your career interests are, you can get involved with student organizations at the graduate level. Each year in computer engineering, RIT sponsors the hackathon. We have become a global destination school for other universities to bring their cybersecurity graduate students to our campus, compete in competitions, academic competitions to solve hacking and cybersecurity problems. And then our graduates are recruited into government and private sector jobs to provide state-of-the-art security systems for global computing infrastructure. And that's the summary of our overview of our graduate programs. I think at that point, we can stop our slide sharing and really be ready for questions from the audience. I'm sure that you have a lot of questions about the nature of our academic environment, our professors, the courses that we offer. I still teach class myself. I teach in the graduate program. This semester, I'm teaching a course called Translating Discovery into Practice. And it's specifically a graduate course where we're teaching students about how to be impactful in their high-tech career. We're doing public policy. Next week, I begin our module on intellectual property, learning how to manage your personal intellectual property portfolio throughout your career. So it's really exciting. We're very happy to have you in our webinar today, and all of us would be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the university or graduate programs, how to get involved with these programs. So welcome. I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Professor Hensel, and also Paul and Lindsay for that excellent presentation and for a very elaborate presentation on both of the programs, computer engineering and industrial and systems engineering. And I think there are so many takeaways, and no wonder that it is one of the premier engineering schools and technology programs in the US. we do have a lot of questions that have come in, and Paul has been kind enough to answer a few of them already. But to start with, for both of these programs, both of these are core engineering programs. I have a question for you, Professor Hensel and Lindsay, and that is that what does the ideal class look like for both of the programs? Who is this program for? Which are the kind of candidates you are seeking to let in?
So Lindsay, do you want to talk about our admissions profile of typical students coming into the program? And then I will respond to what our classroom environment is like once students are here.
I think in terms of our typical students, there is no typical student. I think it's probably the best answer to that question, is that we are welcoming students from a variety of backgrounds into these programs. I think there's some basic prerequisite engineering, math, science courses that will be required. But I think that one of the things that RIT prides itself the most on is the diversity of our student population. And I'm not just talking about culturally or where you're from. I'm talking about age, background, experience, all of those things come into play for our students. And I think that's one of the things that our students benefit the most from, is the diversity of our population. So I would say in general, RIT is a very competitive university. So we are looking for students with a strong academic background who are going to come into these programs and excel. I think one of the things that I heard recently from one of our professors, that at the graduate level, you're really transitioning into the unknown problems. That at the undergraduate level, you're studying content information that is known, you're learning. But at the graduate level, we're looking for students who are transitioning to the unknown problems and how we are going to solve those. So students who are interested in solving problems, who are interested in working collaboratively, who are strong academically, and who have that foundational knowledge and are really looking to further their career and their prospects. In terms of data and what we're looking for scores, our faculty is looking holistically at your applications. So they're taking into consideration everything that you are submitting. Most notably, your transcripts, of course, are going to be the most important in your academic background. But we're also going to be looking at your letters of recommendation, your personal statement, your resume and CV, to look for very well-rounded students and who we feel that their experience at RIT will really help push forward and increase their knowledge base and become a more successful engineer.
Thank you, Lindsay. I think that sums it. What is an ideal RIT candidate? Thank you for that. Professor Hensel, would you like to add anything to that?
Sure, I would echo everything that Lindsay said. I look at the students in my classroom. I have students from all over the world. And the course I'm teaching right now, I think I have about 25 students in my graduate class. So I get to know everyone very well on a first name basis. I see them a couple of times a week, and I invite them to come to my office hours. That's culturally a big part of our campus experience, is our faculty members want to get to know you and want you to come and talk to us. There was a question in the chat about background and academic preparation. People coming in from a diverse background that's one of the things that attracted us to this collaborative program with upGrad. The advanced certificate program that students are participating in through upGrad is actually helping provide a lot of the preparatory background work that our industrial and systems engineering and computer engineering departments are looking for. And that's one of the reasons we're focusing on these two graduate programs today, is that your advanced certificates are setting the stage to get you ready for our graduate program. So regardless of where you're coming from, a lot of that prep that you're doing now, I think is addressing the bridging issues that were coming up in the chat room.
Yes, Professor Hensel, thank you so much for bringing that up, because now this brings to my mind that there would be a few learners here who are new to the whole upGrad setup, and they would have a question of what is this advanced certificate program in data science that we are speaking of. So just to give you a broad overview, the program at upGrad, it's going to look like this, that initially you're going to do 8 months of coursework online, and that is the coursework which Professor Hensel just mentioned. That is the advanced certificate program in data science from IIIT Bangalore, which is an institute you'd be familiar with. That 8 month of program is going to be completely online. So you have the flexibility to work alongside as you do that program. And depending on whether or not you meet the prerequisite in that program, would you get a chance to apply to RIT for the degree programs, that is the MS in Computer Engineering and Industrial and Systems Engineering. And the application criteria is a 65% is what we are looking at in your undergrad degree. And like Professor Hensel already mentioned, we are open to a lot of other degrees other than core computer science or IT, because of the fact that you will have that bridge program. And of course, Lindsay, I would leave it to you to also help our learners understand that when they are going to RIT, what is it that you are going to be looking at in terms of the in terms of the GPA for the IIIT-B program.
Ed may be a better person to answer that. I would say that
Yeah, sure.
in general, though, we are, as I mentioned earlier, the faculty is looking at application holistically.
Sure.
Ed, you can speak maybe more. I think generally we're looking for a 3.0 or higher. But Ed, maybe you have more comments on that as well.
Yeah, so
Sure. Yeah.
we have students from many different undergraduate universities in India, as well as having this advanced certificate program is going to make that very clean. So we'll be looking at the capstones and the work that you've completed during your certificate program. We rely heavily on your letters of reference. So it's not simply a GPA cutoff or whether you're first class or second class in your undergraduate program. It truly is looking at everything in your portfolio. Because we are a career-oriented institution and we're really preparing our graduates for high-tech careers, and co-op is such an integral part of what we do, we also look take a significant look at your practical industrial experience. So if you're a working professional while you're doing your certificate with upGrad, that's actually a positive thing for us in our admissions evaluation. In the classroom, I find students with that practical working experience ask a different kind of question and a more probing question. So I wouldn't be too worried about a specific GPA cutoff or a specific English language cutoff, particularly at the master's level. We do expect English language competency for graduate programs, but I have never had an English language competency issue with any of our graduate students coming from India. Obviously, I mean, I would not be concerned about that.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Hensel. And, of course, what I've come to gather is that both of these programs are highly competitive, and RIT itself is such a competitive school. If we were to talk of the curriculum, the co-op is such an integral part, which you've mentioned. Can you tell our audience what are the 3 compelling reasons that make the RIT curriculum really stand out? What are those 3 reasons for which they should choose to be at RIT?
Well, thanks. That's a great question. So first is we're always revising the content of our curriculum to stay up to date. These are fast-moving fields. Computer engineering today is very different than it was a decade ago. So we are adding new courses and new content to our graduate programs, new focus areas. An elective that we offered 15 years ago is obsolete today. So we're seeing tremendous growth in our AI and deep learning and all of those kinds of aspects. We're continually upgrading our hardware labs. Because of our deep connections with industry, you're going to have access to the state-of-the-art ECAD and design systems. You're going to be able to have state-of-the-art manufacturing hardware in our industrial and systems engineering program. The labs that you will be working with in your graduate program are second to none with graduate engineering programs in the United States.
Sure. Thank you so much, Professor Hensel. And I think that's what is needed at this time when especially US, you are at the forefront of STEM innovation. And that's one of the reasons why people choose to go to the US, which is an excellent opportunity for our students. Also, Professor Hensel, when you were taking us through the presentation and you did speak of the research facilities and the kind of projects that students do, computer architecture, integrated circuits and systems, so on and so forth. And of course, following up with that, RIT has an incredible placement rate. Most of your students are also absorbed by the co-op employers. So any student who's going there is very keen to know, how is it that students are able to have these outcomes? There's a lot of assistance you provide. So can you help us understand the career resources and the assistance that you provide as well?
So starting from the name, career services, co-op and career services at RIT is different than other universities that I've been affiliated with throughout my career. So we have dedicated full-time recruitment professionals who work with graduates from each different program. So there is a member of our co-op and career services office dedicated to working with computer engineering students. We have a different professional dedicated to working with our industrial and systems engineering professionals. Every one of our placement officers has a case manager, so they have a portfolio of companies that they work with. So you will be working with a dedicated recruiter that knows the companies, knows how many placements those companies are seeking to fill. We have to turn away companies for our career fair because we can't fit them into our career fair. So we will typically have over 300 to 350 companies asking to come to our career fair, and we limit that to 250 each fall and each spring.
Wow.
It's so attractive for students to hire RIT grads that we also have different affinity groups. So we'll have some companies that say, gee, we're not a great, big, huge company. We can't be competitive in a career fair. So maybe we're a regional Northeastern US company. So we may have an affinity group with 10 companies that come in and have a career night separately just to have an opportunity to meet students. So you get an opportunity to attend a in-person class on how to modernize your resume, how to do a practice interview. We have alumni who will do mock interviews with current students to help you prepare. So you're not just thrown out into the marketplace. We have a lot of resources to help you. And at the graduate level, your faculty members from class know you, and we do a lot of personal referrals as well.
Thank you, Professor Hensel. I think that's a very elaborate range of services that you're offering, and 350 plus companies. It's an incredible number. And of course, I think, Lindsay, you had mentioned this early on, that when a student is choosing a graduate degree, there's always room for exploration. Right. And there would be students here, considering that you are not necessarily looking at work experience as a criteria. There would be students here who probably are not 100% sure of the career paths that they want to transition into. So just to follow up to that, how do you help them discover that, and also, what kind of career progressions have you normally seen graduates from each of these courses have? Question for both.
That's great. I mean, one of the advantages of the graduate education at a place like RIT and our College of Engineering is you get exposure to so many different technology fields and career opportunities just by walking into our different labs. So if you're unsure about what career path you want to follow, I would meet with you or your graduate director. So Ruben Pirano is the graduate director for the Industrial and Systems Engineering program, and Dr. Andres Kwasinski is the director for our computer engineering program. You're going to get to know them within your first several weeks on campus, and we'll be guiding you into how to select elective courses to explore career paths. Paul mentioned with our CPT, curricular practical training, you could actually do co-ops in a couple of different careers. You may have a summer experience in one company, go on and continue and do a fall experience in a different company. And many times for graduates who are uncertain about what they want to go into for their professional career, I think it's just as important to rule out things, careers that you're not
That's right.
interested in, as
Yeah.
identifying the things that you love. And so using that kind of feedback, if I interview a student and we talk about aspects of prior things that they've done, that they've loved and that they've disliked, we can really help guide, well, you sound like you'd be a good fit for this direction. And
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I think that is exactly the kind of support that any student is looking at. And I'm so glad to hear that, you are providing a host of career services that way. And Professor Hensel, since you have had a history of working with these students, of course, there are some common career progressions that students have. So can you help us understand the common progressions and also what are the average salaries that students are able to have?
So I didn't think to look up the statistics on the average salaries.
Yeah.
I can pull those. I don't have them off the top of my head. I will say that we're nationally competitive. Our students
Right.
are doing very well. And when you leave from being a student status to an employee status, your standard of living increases dramatically overnight. But as far as career trajectories, I would say they're quite different between the industrial and systems engineering program versus the computer engineering program. The
Right.
vast majority of our computer engineering graduates are going into relatively large brand name companies as opposed to startup companies. We do have a smaller number of graduates who are going into smaller startup companies, maybe 50 to 100 employees. I'd say the majority of our computer engineering graduates are going into name brand companies like Cisco or Microsoft or Google, you name it. That's where our graduates are going. In the industrial and systems engineering, they go all over the map. So industrial engineering is a skill set that you can move into any industry. So increasingly, we have students that are pursuing careers in healthcare and bringing the IE background into the healthcare sector,
Right.
in addition to the traditional fields of manufacturing and production research. We have quite a few of our graduates going into the finance sector, surprisingly, because the analytical skills that an engineering graduate brings to bear, well, perform very well in the banking and financing industry. But I would say for IE, our two biggest fields are traditional manufacturing and production systems and healthcare systems. Computer engineering, it's largely both computer hardware and computer software and networking systems, those fields.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Hensel.
Raki, just
Yeah.
to on the back of that, in terms of salary and career info, I'm going to
Sure.
put in the chat, but I can't share with everyone. So maybe if you can share it out with our guests. I'm going to put a link to our post-graduation salary and career info that breaks
Sure.
it down by program so that students can see by program what those outcomes look like. So I just put that in the chat. You can share that out with everyone. That's a link to our website with more specific information by program.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lindsay. That is very helpful. And I have just shared it on the chat box for all of our attendees. And please feel free to have a look. And you'd be very happy to know that both of the programs that Lindsay and Professor Hensel have been speaking of have 100% outcome rates, which is, of course, an incredible statistic. We have 15 minutes for the webinar to close, and I do see that we have a few questions. At this point, I would also like to encourage everyone who's still on the webinar with us to please ask any questions that you may have. This could be profile-related questions. This could be with respect to the coursework. This could be with respect to the university in general. This is the best time to have your questions answered because you have Lindsay and Professor Hensel, and they are our experts. So yes, I would like to encourage you to use the next 15 minutes very judiciously. I have an interesting question from someone. I would like to take that up. So they mentioned that they have done their bachelor's and also their master's. They have 5 years of freelancing experience. However, they do not have any documentation to prove that. They also seem to have a 7 years of career gap. And they've mentioned their age to be 35. So they are interested in these programs and they want to know whether they stand a chance.
So congratulations. That kind of experience is extremely valuable, and I think you would do well in our graduate program. You know, people have career gaps for any number of reasons, whether that's entrepreneurial work or personal and family situations. That's not a problem at all. I love seeing students with entrepreneurial experience and doing freelancing and that type of thing. And that experience will come through loud and clear when we have a conversation. So you may not be able to share documentation of specific projects that you've worked on as a freelance because of confidentiality or what have you, but that work experience becomes really evident as we're talking. So we just want to get an understanding of what your formal academic training and background is. We'll be looking at the certificate program that you complete in upGrad. And so that's one of the great avenues of this program with upGrad is if you have been out of an academic setting for a few years and you're a little nervous about getting back into a classroom pace and that type of thing, we're pretty confident that completing the online certificate program with upGrad is going to get you back in the mood and ready to be engaged in our graduate program. So I would not be concerned if you have what we often refer to as a non-traditional academic background. A large fraction of our students are not direct entry following their BS, right? They've gotten their bachelor's degree, they've worked in industry, and now they're saying, I want to move my career in the next way. That's great for us. We're happy to see that.
Thank you, Professor Hensel. That's very encouraging. Thank you. And I would like to take the next question, that is with respect to the fee. And I believe we started the webinar on a very interesting note, and that is that RIT is offering a 40% of scholarship. So Lindsay and Professor Hensel, if any of you could take it up, what is going to be the fee that they're going to pay at RIT in terms of the tuition and also the living?
So Lindsay, do you want to take that?
I can comment in terms of the cost of living. That is going to vary depending on the students. I can say that in terms of generally speaking, we estimate the annual cost of living for our students to be about $14,000 a year, but that can be plus or minus depending on your accommodations and where you're staying. We have a variety of living situations and availabilities, so that depends on the student. In terms of the fees, I think that's a little hard to discuss kind of without having a visual to kind of break down what the fees look like. I know that can get a little bit complicated. If we're talking tuition, I do believe that it was agreed upon, it was a 40% scholarship towards your RIT credits. And so that will be the current tuition rate is $2,370 per credit hour. So tuition is based upon how many credits you are enrolled in. So for example, if you are enrolled in 9 credit hours, which is considered full-time. So full-time, I can't do that math quite in my head. Maybe some of our engineers can do that math in their head, but 2370 times 9 minus 40%. That would be your tuition rate for that semester. There are some additional fees that come into play that are relatively minor. But those can be found in our website, and we can share that as well. So you have your tuition fees. There are some fees, health fees that come into play, and then your living expenses.
Sure.
I should add to that, that both of our master's programs that we're talking about here today are 30 credit
30.
graduate programs here at RIT. And because of this particular program that we're introducing at the webinar today, with our partnership with upGrad, you're actually going to be getting transfer credit for 9 credits of graduate coursework through the advanced certificate at upGrad. So in addition to the tuition scholarship that we've offered to this program for the 21 credits that you'll be taking here at RIT, you're instead of paying for 30 credits from us, you're paying for 21 credits from us on top of that 40% tuition scholarship. So that's an added benefit. So collectively, you're getting benefit by preparing academically. You're getting 9 credits of transfer, reducing your time on campus, which reduces your cost of living expenses until you can get into your career.
Absolutely. Thank you, Professor Hensel and Lindsay. And that is essentially the upGrad advantage for you. As Professor Hensel rightly mentioned, that you not only are getting a reduced tuition, and of course, as has been mentioned, RIT is highly competitive, and their courses are also a little expensive, but yes, we have been able to, RIT has been kind enough to grant us a 40% scholarship. So that is the advantage which we would like all of you to take up. To add to that, for the 8 months of program that you're going to be doing from IIIT Bangalore, you will have to pay a tuition of 4 lakh rupees. So that's what the fees look like. Lindsay, a follow-up to your answer on the living cost of the 14,000 that you mentioned, is that the fee that they need to also provide for to be granted an I-20? And here I would also like you to, walk them a little through the application process. Yeah.
Actually, that 14,000 is the number that that came to mind, because that is the number that we use to help determine the amount required to deliver the I-20.
Sure.
So in terms of the application process from the RIT side, very straightforward. Our application can be found on our website, and I'm sure Raki will share as well as you interact with her. Application from our side, as part of our partnership, the requirements will be your transcripts, of course, your previous transcripts, your personal statement, your resume or CV, and your letters of recommendation. So we are waiving any GRE requirements and English language requirements. So I know those were 2 questions. So important to note there, those were questions in our Q&A. So the English language requirement has been waived, the GRE has been waived, and also the application fee has been waived. So as long as you meet all of those requirements that you are applying to these 2 specific programs, just these 2, RIT has many. I know there's been some questions in the chat regarding our program catalog. So as long as you meet the requirements for these 2 programs, that those will be applied to your application, and the GRE, English language, and application fee will be waived. So as soon as we have received all of the application materials, so that includes your letters of recommendation that should be submitted directly from your recommenders. There's functionality directly within our application that you can add their contact information. They will receive a link and they can then send their letters directly on your behalf. So as soon as everything has been received, those applications will then be released to our academic faculty, who will then be reviewing your applications. We are estimating about a 2-week turnaround once your application has been released for academic review for you to receive those decisions. So you will receive an email when a decision has been released, and you can access those decision documents via your RIT application portal. At that point, once you have received notification that you have been offered admission, you then have 2 weeks to consider your options and decide if you would like to accept that offer. You can do so again via the application portal and submit your $500 tuition deposit, which then secures your seat in the program. As far as I-20 processing, I will be the person responsible for processing your I-20s.
Yes.
So you can then, upon admission, you'll receive some very detailed information regarding those requirements and what financial documents we need to be able to process that. So you can upload those financial documents again via your application. And you can either notify me directly, Raki directly, to let us know. I can help expedite the processing of that I-20. As we find that the more time that you leave yourself to secure your appointment, your visa appointment, and make those logistical arrangements, the better. A little less stressful for everyone. So the sooner that you are able to do that, the sooner we can process your I-20 and that you can book your visa appointment. So we will help you through that process and do our best to make that as seamless as possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lindsay. And, a question that some of our learners often have is they have an admit, and due to some unforeseen circumstances, they are not able to make it for that intake. Do you have a process for deferral? And would they be required? How would the deferral process work in case they want to go ahead for the next intake?
So
There
we do
is a
get,
general process, but
Sure.
Ed, you may speak more because based on the sequence of courses, generally speaking, to defer, that needs to be approved by the academic program director. And the
All
student
right.
also needs to submit that tuition deposit, that $500 tuition deposit to secure
Sure.
your seat in the program. Ed, you probably have some more comments in terms of the sequencing for a student that, let's say, that was admitted for fall and their options to defer to a later semester.
yeah, I would say that during the pandemic, of course, we had all kinds of deferral problems, and that just became a matter of course for us to handle those issues. Things seem to be improving this year and even starting last year. So we seem to be getting many fewer deferral requests due to immigration and visa delays. So I think that's gotten a lot better. We're routine. We try to be accommodating with that. But we're going to deal with each individual student on a case-by-case basis.
Sure.
And that's where looking at your academic background and your individual preparation is going to define, can we bring you in off cycle and still get you into classes that you have the appropriate prerequisites for? Or do we need to have you wait a full cycle so that you can start at the beginning? So that's very much a case-by-case person response.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lindsay and Professor Hensel. And I do see that we just have 1 minute, but if it's all right with you, I would like to take one final question from our learner, and that is with respect to international transfer students. And they say that they have some credits with manufacturing engineering, and they are particularly interested in the industrial and systems engineering program. And they would like to transfer a few credits that they've earned from an international degree. Would you allow for that?
So I think that one of the unique aspects of our program with upGrad is that we've already pre-approved 9 credits of transfer through the upGrad Advanced Certificate program. So with that advanced certificate, that will consume all of the transfer credit slots available. So we would look at your prior work that you've taken, and if you've already had some manufacturing experience or manufacturing graduate courses, we would be transferring your 9 upGrad credits. We wouldn't be able to transfer additional credits beyond that, but we would look at the courses that you took, and perhaps you've already taken the introductory graduate manufacturing course. So we would use that to place you in the higher level course. So even though it's not officially transferred, we're accounting for that in your placement technically.
Sure. Thank you, Professor Hensel. Thank you for answering that. And on that note, I would like to thank the both of you, Lindsay and Professor Hensel, for taking out time and joining us on this webinar. This has been very engaging and incredibly informative. We are extremely excited for this partnership with RIT. And as we speak, both the programs have also gone live on the upGrad Abroad website. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot of engagement and queries coming in from our learners. And before we close, of course, you have spoken to us at length about both of these programs, but any final thoughts for our learners that you'd like to share?
I would encourage you to be bold and take the next step in moving your career forward. We have great programs here. If the things that you've heard about today sound exciting and feel like a great way to move forward with your career, apply, right? Nothing's going to happen without that first step of beginning your application process and getting involved with upGrad. I think we put together a state-of-the-art program. We would love to see you come through the advanced certificate program and be on our campus. The future is yours. Grab a hold of it and hang on.
Wow, very encouraging words, Professor Hensel. Thank you. Lindsay, over to you.
I would just say that reach out to us if you have questions. We are
Yes.
here. So we know that this can be a big decision in your life and your next steps. So we are all here. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to any one of us.
Sure.
We're happy to connect with you and answer any questions that you have. There's so many ways to connect with us, whether it's email, Zoom, live chat. So there's definitely opportunities to continue the conversation should you have questions. So we look forward to meeting you and hopefully welcoming you on campus very soon.
Very soon, yes. Thank you so much to the both of you. And also for all our learners, you would have observed that there is a long message on the chat box, which my colleague Arushi has shared with you. So that is where you can connect with our counselor. If you click on the link against the master programs, you will be directed to our page and you can place a query and our academic counselors will be happy to help you. So thank you once again. And we're really looking forward to this partnership and to host you again on our webinars. Yes, thank you.